I'm Matt Dixon, and welcome to the Purple Patch Podcast. The mission of Purple Patch is to empower and educate every human being to reach their athletic potential. Through the lens of athletic potential, you reach your human potential. The purpose of this podcast is to help time-starved people everywhere integrate sport into life. And welcome to the Purple Patch Podcast. As ever, your host, Matt Dixon. And today we are going to go to the very pinnacle of high performance. And we're going to talk about kids. Children. What can they teach us about developing sustained high performance? Is that a serious question, you might ask me? They do nothing. They go to school, they forget to brush their teeth, they leave their clothes strewn all over their bedrooms, and they play. Well, it turns out they can teach us quite a lot. At least the study of child development can. How children develop into high-functioning adults actually has massive parallels with understanding the importance of the value of sport in our lives and how we are able to leverage sport, or at least personal physical challenges, to help us show up better, to perform under pressure across all aspects of life. And so this today is about your high performance, but it's going to be born out of kids running around in a playground, falling out of trees, all of that good stuff. And most of us can remember that from our childhoods. It's all in the meat and potatoes. But first, before we get going, I do want to just remind you of one thing. We're bringing you this show today ad-free, and it's going to be clear of heavy promotions. And so with that in mind, just a quick note. If you listen today and you have further questions, you want to follow up with myself or a member of the Purple Patch team, or you'd like to chat about any program at Purple Patch, please feel free to reach out and connect. As ever, your first discussion and consultation is free. You can email us at info@purplepatchfitness.com, or if you'd like to explore all Purple Patch offerings, those can be found at purplepatchfitness.com. Register for our free educational newsletter that we put out that is all around digging deeper into some of the concepts that we discuss on this show. All right, with that, I've got my trusty producer in hand. He is ready to go. Barry, you do a cracking job. We thank you for your service and lead us like a warrior into today's meat and potatoes. Yes, it is the meat and potatoes. And if you are a regular listener to this show, you've heard me discuss the path of sustained high performance. You know it's my big thing. I've helped athletes win world titles. I've helped very busy leaders show up and gain an edge in the workplace. I've helped everyday people emerge from mental health challenges or clinical ill health to find their recipe for sustained high performance. It doesn't matter what field we're talking about. For me, performance is performance. Your success is about more than just occasional excellence. It's about consistently showing up your best self, physically and mentally, especially when it matters most. And the truth is that across any field, for you to show up consistently and predictably, it requires mastery in two interconnected areas. The first is a performance base layer. And that's the first pillar, if you want to call it that, of sustained high performance. That's you showing up and consistently delivering your best physical self, operating with unwavering energy levels, sharp cognitive function, a really robust immune system so you're taken out of the game less, and a physical resiliency to handle life's demands. It's about you being prepared every day to face challenges head on. And that's the physical part of it. But there is also the mental component as well. That's what we label the traits of a high-performance mindset. You've heard me talk about it on this show a lot. You want to think about that as your second connected pillar, cultivating a mindset of mental resiliency and adaptability. This mindset is essential for you to be able to navigate obstacles, to perform under pressure, to overcome setbacks, and to thrive no matter what the environment is. In many ways, it's your inner strength that drives you to push through challenges to emerge stronger. And when we combine these elements, daily physical readiness, and a high-performance mindset. It's empowering. It empowers you to rise to the occasion consistently, confidently meet life's demands, and effectively overcome obstacles. At Purple Patch, we might say that you are delivering yourself to consistent and predictable purple patches. Now, if you are a regular listener, that's old news. We've talked about it quite a lot. We've done episodes on both your performance-based layer and a high-performance mindset. So where do children come into this? Well, it turns out that we can understand ourselves as humans if we actually cast our minds back a little bit and we reflect on our childhoods and we reflect on the role and the importance of free play. So when we think about child development, I want to investigate two key areas. Number one, free play, and number two, the critical role of experiences, actually living experiences rather than just learning or receiving information. And what we're going to do by understanding these components is we're then going to link them very simply to the development and improving in a journey of sport or, of course, life and work performance. And so there are really two parts of this. The first is a reflection on free play for kids. What's the value? What's the importance? And even a little bit around what's the consequence if we don't let our kids engage in free play. And in that free play, how experiences play a critical role in emotional development. And then we're going to very simply create a bridge where we think about our own experiences and how that relates to my recommendation of taking on a physical challenge, embracing sport. In fact, in many ways, by reflecting on kids today, we can answer the question, why do so many CEOs of major organizations love to do things like climb Everest or try and fly around the world in a hot air balloon or compete in a marathon or Ironman? It's a lot about what we're talking about today. So let's first talk about children engaging in free play, out in the playground, not under at least strict adult supervision, where they've got freedom to go around and do whatever they want. Take risks, climb up, go a little bit faster, throw, collaborate all together. It's the chaos of the playground. How does this link to their emotional development? After all, you are going through, or they are going through childhood so that they can develop tools to enable them to be more effective as adults. And so how does free play play a role in this? It turns out it's really critical, it's really important. Firstly, free play fosters social skills. Unstructured, and this is really important, it's not about organised sports, it's not about supervised play dates. Unstructured play amongst children is crucial for developing some of the social skills that we think about as adults: negotiation, cooperation, conflict resolution. Stand on the side of any school playground, of course with permission please, and you would see these things happening in real time. So free play helps with social skills. That's great. Free play also is the arena where you build emotional resilience. Engaging in free play allows children to experience and managing minor risks, some failures, setbacks, disagreements with one another. And so in other words, it helps them develop the emotional resilience and also core components of self-regulation. Free play, of course, as well encourages creativity, problem solving. In other words, it stimulates children to actually learn to solve problems independently, contributing to their emotional and cognitive development. And free play ultimately promotes autonomy. Through free play, children learn to make their own decisions, to navigate social dynamics without constant adult intervention. And so that cannot help but foster a sense of confidence and autonomy. And so in other words, a lot of the components that I would argue lead on, and most child development experts would as well, lead on to becoming a higher functioning adult, it occurs out of free play. But everything I just outlined there, they're not my thoughts. That's not what I believe free play does. Any child development expert would highlight this. A book that I would encourage you to read, perhaps add to your repertoire, is called The Anxious Generation. It's by Jonathan Haidt. It's very, very interesting. And in the book, Jonathan goes into great depth of the importance of free play. And he also highlights some of the perils of denying free play to a child's development. It actually holds back emotional development if a child doesn't have access to free play. He also goes into the negative consequences of replacing free play outside in the chaos of the playground and the parks and replacing it with screen time, video games, social media, other individual screen-based activities, because they are not the grounds in which we get the emotional development. Now, that's a really compelling read for me as a father of a 12-year-old, but it also sparked my coaching mind. When I'm aiming to help adults improve their performance, think about this. Kids, play is vital to enable them to ultimately thrive in life. You see where I'm going with this as a coach, don't you? And that's a big part of this experience. When we think about play, it's a vital arena to equip them in broader life, the important part of life. And a huge part of free play is experience. It would be pointless telling children, lining them up against the wall and saying, here is the value of play. Now, here's the theory. The only pathway for them to actually foster the emotional development of these components that we talked about, negotiation, collaboration, overcoming adversity, navigating a sense of risk, creativity, all of these components that I just outlined, the only way that the emotional development can occur for the children is via experience. Let's consider the importance of experience over just receiving information. It's pretty simple stuff, but it's important. Learning through doing. I've seen as a coach firsthand the power of doing. Experience, especially when it involves challenges and direct engagement, is far more impactful for learning and personal growth than any time you just have a passive consumption of information. He says this as the coach as you're sitting here having a passive consumption of information. But ultimately, application, experience is where you really start to gel. You start to gain actual emotional development. Real life experiences lead to deeper, more embodied understandings of concepts and skills, as opposed to just receiving information. It also fosters moral and emotional development. Experiences, particularly those that engage with emotional challenges, are really essential for developing empathy, compassion, moral reasoning, and finally, wisdom. None of us, children included, develop wisdom through theory. It's only through lived experiences. Individuals apply and test their knowledge in real-world situations rather than just accumulating facts. And so when we bring this back to children, play delivers a profound impact of active engagement and real-world experiences that therefore have the driving impact of improving emotional and cognitive development. Great. Free play, we're sold. Super. But here you are right now, listening to a podcast on performance with a performance coach. That's me. And I'm ramming down your throat information on child development. I'm talking about children playing. And yes, get kids off the screens. I hear the rallying call, and I'm with you. That's great. But how does it link to someone like you who's wanting to improve your mindset and your approach to better performance in sport, life, work, etc.? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. You might have guessed. These concepts directly apply to us. Let's think about experience-based learning in sport and work. Let's think about active engagement, Just as Jonathan Haidt emphasizes learning through doing, it's exactly the same for athletes and professionals. You improve by engaging in real-world challenges rather than just studying techniques or theories. It's practice, experimentation, real-time decision-making. They are critical for mastering skills. I'll give you an example. Purple Patch training camps. We host multiple training camps all over the world, and we build the whole camp experiences around a simple concept: educate and then execute. In other words, we don't have you into a classroom setting and say, this is how you should ride a bicycle. We explain the concepts and then we get out and we do. Now, of course, there's nothing revolutionary about this. I'm sure that you don't need me to sit here and say, listen, you educate the theory and then you go and execute it. But that is, if you just pause for a second, that's really important. Explain the concepts and then experience it. We also go through feedback and adaptation. Experiences, actually going through the motions of something, provide in themselves immediate feedback. It enables us to adapt and refine our approaches. And of course, this is essential for continuous improvement in anything, sport, work environment. In other words, by living through an experience, you are going to have to navigate valuable mini failures. Oh, that wasn't right. Goodness me, that wasn't great. I need to adjust this. I need to go from here. I've got these roadblocks and obstacles. I need to adjust and around it. It's the same as what our kids are doing in the playground. We're just doing it in our environment. And so this is really important because it doesn't just help you get better at skills. It also hones a mindset of creative thinking, solutions-based mindset, adaptability. And these are critical mindsets that are applicable to anything in life. But in order for them to develop, to improve, we need to actually navigate experiences. A huge one that any pro athlete is going to tell you about is growth through adversity. Living through experiences, setbacks, challenges, whether it's in training or work, is going to build your resilience. It's also going to develop what is commonly called a growth mindset. And this is very, very similar to how free play helps children develop emotional resilience. You might have heard the line, every champion has failed more than anyone else. And that little line, as cute as it is, has real substance. Because athletes, pro athletes, understand that the line of progression is never linear. It's always going to include many, many setbacks. And so by living through experiences and going on the arc of a journey, you're developing not just gradual progression, but you're developing a mindset of growth. A second component of experiences is understanding pressure. Pressure and performance within pressure. Just like children learning to manage emotions through free play, athletes and professionals must learn how to handle pressure and stress in high-stakes situations. And a key component of that is building emotional resilience so that you can perform well under pressure. But I promise you, you cannot develop that in a vacuum, or by reading a book, or by listening to a podcast. You must live experiences. And just as free play fosters autonomy, gaining experiences in sport is going to build a sense of control, even a sense of confidence. And of course, as you build a greater sense of autonomy, a sense of control, some more confidence, you learn to be more decisive, more effective in your actions, whether it's during competition or, of course, in the workplace. And so experiences are really important for us as adults. As kids, we're learning and we're understanding collaboration, communication, navigating obstacles. But as adults, we need to live experiences to also do the same. So why do I tell you all this? Well, in truth, it's a call to action. Or for some of you, a rallying cry as further encouragement. Keep doing what you're doing. Go on the journey. Embrace sport. Because a couple of weeks ago, I did an episode on taking on a physical challenge. And I referenced child development in there. When we spend time and we really dive in and we think about child development, it's really, when we think about sport, it really highlights one of the most important values of you embracing sport as a part of your journey. Outside of work and all of your responsibilities and broader life, including family, I believe there is massive value in you taking on a physical challenge, committing to a journey in sport. Because this is really your version of play, adult play. For me, sport is the ideal vehicle to foster all of the same benefits and value that Jonathan Haidt identifies with children's free play. Think about it for a second. Sport. You commit to a huge challenge, but it's really low risk. Ultimately, your income, unless you're a professional athlete, your income is not wrapped up in the results. Your self-worth isn't, at least it shouldn't be. Yeah, we've got a little bit of ego, we want to do well, but ultimately sport and physical challenges are very low risk environments. And yet, in that environment, you committing to something, you have to fully commit in order to be successful and achieve your goals. You have to test yourself. Typically, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to navigate a series of experiences. You're going to face challenges. You're probably going to have a few failures on the way. You are going to go through lived experiences that are going to foster all of those traits. And by definition, in that low-risk environment, parallel to all of your roles and responsibilities, you are going to be just given experiences and lessons that are going to, whether you like it or not, hone and develop all of those traits. Now, it's also a really healthy thing to do. It's a great source of pride and satisfaction. You might even have fun doing it as well. It can even open up a whole world of community. So yes, the value of sport is great, but as it relates to child's play, it's really adult play. When you do this, when you commit to journeys, you will improve the traits that we know make you better equipped to perform under pressure, to focus on the key elements, to collaborate and communicate in the real world. And that's the important part of it. Kids play so that, they don't realize this, but so that on the journey they become more effective adults. They experience emotional development through the arena of play. We leverage our play, adult play, taking on a physical challenge, a hobby, a sport, so that we can yield great benefits that are applicable to our life as adults. In other words, in the workplace, as a father, as a mother, as a partner, all of these components. My observations of working with people just like you is that this crucible of sport is a vehicle to help us show up better in life. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it's rewarding, but it's a vehicle to show up better in life. The folks that I've worked with that embrace sport, no matter how busy and time-starved they are better equipped under the big banner of emotional resilience and stress management. Engaging in challenges outside of work, like training for a marathon or an IRONMAN, it requires enduring discomfort, setbacks, failures. This process builds emotional resilience. They're better equipped to handle pressure across all aspects of life. They have better problem-solving skills. They're highly adaptable. They've got a better sense of confidence and certainly autonomy. No one is coming to rescue you in these challenges. It's you looking in the mirror and growing yourself. They build confidence, the sense of control. They even enhance their leadership skills. And so these are the components that ultimately lead to better fulfillment, better performance across life, and a sense of balance. It has wisdom and perspective all the way. In summary, taking on challenges outside of the work, it's a powerful way to cultivate emotional strength, performance-enhancing traits, and a balanced, growth-orientated opportunity or mindset that positively influence your professional life. Ultimately, when we think about it, we're just big kids. Kids play, and it helps them adult better. As adults, we play, and it helps us adult better. Very simple. Ask Jonathan Haidt. Some things never change. See you next time. Guys, thanks so much for joining, and thank you for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the new format. You can never miss an episode by simply subscribing. Head to the Purple Patch channel of YouTube and you will find it there and you could subscribe. Of course, I'd like to ask you, if you will subscribe, also share it with your friends, and it's really helpful if you leave a nice positive review in the comments. Now, any questions that you have, let me know. Feel free to add a comment and I will try my best to respond and support you on your performance journey. And in fact, as we commence this video podcast experience, if you have any feedback at all, as mentioned earlier in the show, we would love your help in helping us to improve. Simply email us at info@purplepatchfitness.com or leave it in the comments of the show at the Purple Patch page, and we will get you dialed in. We'd love constructive feedback. We are in a growth mindset, as we like to call it. And so feel free to share with your friends. But as I said, let's build this together. Let's make it something special. It's really fun. We're really trying hard to make it a special experience, and we want to welcome you into the Purple Patch community. With that, I hope you have a great week. Stay healthy, have fun, keep smiling, doing whatever you do. Take care.